Here with us for a deeper look at Facebook is the man behind one of the most widely read and influential blogs on technology and finance, Infectious Greed. Paul Kedrosky is one of our contributing editors here at Bloomberg. Paul, good morning to you.
Hey, Eric.
So people have been peppering you with questions about Facebook. On this day that Facebook is set to public price its IPO, raise maybe $16 billion or more, what's top of your mind?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, there's so many things going on that are really, I think, worth watching. I mean, the number one thing is this kind of incredible uptake there's been in terms of the change of mind about over the last 3 or 4 days about how much appetite there actually is for the offering.
Right.
Because there was, early in the week, there was this sense that maybe the institutional interest
was cool.
Was kind of cool. And I think, in retrospect, we were gamed a little bit by the underwriters, which is
shocking.
Which
that
is
never
shocking.
happens.
I know. Yeah, the underwriters are always play these things totally straight. So for the first time, I think. No, not for the first time. For the everyth time, what happened here, I think, is that to try and drive up interest at the margin, largely from retail, I think, because, you know, if you notice, some of the issue actually got pushed through the retail channel, which was really surprising in retrospect, because, you know, there was a lot of institutional interest quite clearly. So why did any go through, for example, E-Trade or any of the other retail channels? And if you looked on the front page of E-Trade as recently as, I don't know, 2-3 days ago, and as well as other retail brokers, you were seeing actual issue getting pushed through. And just as a lark, and just, you know, I'm going to confess up front, I think I bid $3.14 just to see if I could get some. I'm not counting on any. I'm assuming that the $38 is going to hold. But I mean, it's really interesting that there is an attempt to push this through retail, which I think is going to drive a first-day pop in a fairly major way. And again, personally, I would rather this were a much more of an institutional offer, because it's the classic kind of offer that retail makes the mistake of putting in open orders at the issue, and then you get these giant moves on the offer, and no one gets back to their price for weeks.
What does it tell you that so much of the share sale is coming from insiders, from people within the company, as opposed to the company itself? Isn't that a negative sign?
Yeah, it's a huge negative sign, and not only that, it gets even more entertaining, which is that there's a giant overhang of stock from all the secondary offers, all the institutions that got in over the last 2 years, who are trading at prices ranging from about the equivalent of about $5 up to about $35, and they'll all cheerfully sell at prices that aren't going to make money for anyone who buys at the offer. If, say, it goes out at $38, which it won't, it's going to trade higher, there are all kinds of investors who are going to be selling, and making money all the way down to $5.
But isn't this a unique deal why they would want to go to retail? Because so many people out there basically aren't paying attention to the sales revenues, have no idea about GM dropping out, and they're saying, Facebook, I'm on it, everybody is, I need to buy it. So this is different than most other deals, and it's those retail investors who may buy this and say, I'm going to hold on. I know Facebook, I just know it's going to go up, rather than institutional investors who are in because it's a hot deal.
Oh, there's no question. But the trouble is, of course, at the instant we get any kind of speed wobble in the price and you either come back to the issue or it flatlines or even declines at all, it's the retail investors who are going to feel the most burned. So institutions, at least in theory, have the patience and sort of the capital stamina to hang in for the 6 months or a year or 5 years it takes to actually get to a price that they want. Retail investors don't have that patience. They're going to say, "Oh my goodness, I thought this was going to be hot, honey. You said this was going to be great.
Honey.
We all love Facebook.
How about my Facebook page?
Yeah, what happened here?" And it goes back to the old adage. You know, remember Peter Lynch said this almost 2 decades ago in his book. I think it was called One Up on Wall Street. This idea that buy what you know. It's a lovely idea. The trouble is being aware of something I know about Facebook is not the same thing as saying as I have an edge with respect to investing.
It's why people want to work in equities.
It's why people want to work in equities.
So what's the strategy? I mean, I know you're not an investment manager and giving tips, but you've been following the IPO hype for Facebook. If you're sitting at home right now, you're a retail investor, you want to get involved, it's certainly exciting, you use Facebook. Should you wait till after the IPO pops? Should you wait till the dust settles and see what investors think?
If there's no question, and if you feel really, you know, giddy and you want to be part of something, there's lots of other things to look at. They're going to get yanked up on the coattails of Facebook. You know, there's Zynga, for example, there's LinkedIn, there'll be other things coming out. So ride the coattails of an offering like this. Don't try and ride the offering directly.
You really believe, though, that post-IPO, we're going to see the stock come under real pressure as people don't get that pop that they're looking for?
I think we will. And I think it's in part because there is this institutional overhang. There's so many sellers who would cheerfully sell at prices as much as $10 below the current price and will make a great deal of money selling at those prices. And the reason that's historically highly unusual. And the reason why it's highly unusual is because, in a sense, Facebook went public before it went public. Right? It went public on second market 2 years ago.
I want to go back to this point that Scarlett made about the insiders. If the over-allotment option is exercised, you'll see people like Peter Thiel sell 50% of their holding in Facebook. Peter Thiel was one of the first guys to see the promise of Facebook. Does that say to you that Peter Thiel thinks now is the time to bail?
Jump the shark.
Yes.
That's right. It's no longer
Pretty much.
It's no
Pretty
longer
much.
cool. Well, so Peter's an unusual case, but sort of broadly, I would say what it tells you is the opportunity cost for them is too high. They have other things they'd rather do with the money. Having this much money wrapped up in Facebook, when I'm Peter Thiel, I want to change the world. I want to invest in education. I want to do all these other things. He wants to create, I think, an offshore nation or something like this. There's a lot of things Peter wants to do, and he can use the money for. So there's no question there are people who are insider selling, generally speaking, is a bad signal. But in many of the insiders in Facebook are West Coast utopians who want to do big things with the capital.
So you wouldn't be so generous with Goldman Sachs?
I would not be so generous with Goldman Sachs. Goldman
will be a 50% seller at the over-allotment option as well.
Because people at Goldman Sachs don't want to, people on the East Coast don't want to do as nice things as people on the West Coast do?
That's exactly what the problem is. And Goldman, I mean, to be fair to Goldman, right, they're not in the inventory business, right? Their old line, we're in the moving business, not in the storage business.
They're just not as philanthropic. They don't want to do nice things.
This is not
Only
our
people
thing.
in Northern California do. You've heard that, right?
If we're looking
Does everyone here hear that?
That's right. That's what we do. That's what we do. We save the world.
Totally. Yeah, people here never do that.
I know.
Paul, great to see you this morning, and thank you for coming. Paul Kedrosky, the man behind Infectious Greed.